Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. She is amazing in her abilities, and there's many different ones. She's a spiritual life coach, energy healer. She's an intuitive tarot and oracle card reader, and much more. And she is, I think there should be a drum roll or something going on here, Divine Angel Oracle, and she's back with us. How are you? How's everything going?
Everything's going great.
Yeah, it's good
So
to have
far.
you. You know, what's interesting is we talked about tarot cards and Christianity, and a lot of times they don't go together. But you are Christian and you are a tarot card reader. So let's talk about that. Let's go down that road for a little bit.
Okay. Well, first off, I grew up in a very religious home, Southern Baptist, because I'm originally from Georgia, but I live in California right now.
Mm-hmm.
Big Bear.
Gotcha.
It's a touristy town where you go skiing and all that kind of thing. But it's like 2 hours from LA south, and people are like, how can you go skiing in the South, Southern California? But you can. But long story short, so I'm from Georgia. That's why I have the Southern accent too. And
Honestly, I always wondered because I just pictured you as a Californian, and I'm like, where did the accent come in there? I don't know. You know, have friends literally just sent something to a friend with an address outside Los Angeles, and he doesn't have that accent.
no, I definitely don't.
Okay.
But people love to hear me talk here. They're like, oh, talk some more. But anyway, so I grew up Southern Baptist. I went to a one-room church. It was insane. We had outhouses when I was a little girl.
Wow.
And it was very, very different.
You know, I don't mean to digress here, but you just brought back a memory. When I was a kid, the church that we went to was in a movie theater. They didn't have a church. It was
Yeah.
they repurposed it was the Fox Theater, just a local movie theater, because there was no other place to go. So, but they did have bathrooms though, from what I remember.
Yeah, that was kind of different. We didn't get bathrooms till I was a teenager.
Wow.
Yeah. So that shows you how old the church was. My mom still goes to that church too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's an hour drive from our house where I lived. So we had church every third Sunday. So we didn't go every Sunday. But I always asked Mom, I was like, can we go to a normal church? You know? And she's like, no, we have to go to this church. So that's just another little tidbit of information. But when I became a teenager, I got this deck. This is my deck when I was a teenager.
Wow.
So this is very special to me. And this is what the cards look like on the back. And they have the meaning interpretation here. So it's like a learning deck. That's why it said starter tarot deck. And then this is the little book that came with it.
Oh.
So I have a lot of decks. I have like probably close to 500, 1,000 decks of cards. They're all behind me here.
Oh my gosh.
Behind this curtain. And some here you can see.
Woof.
So
Wow.
anyway.
So you're a
Collector.
tarot hoarder, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying.
But when I do my readings, I also use more than one deck. Like I've got one set up for a reading later on. I use more than one deck for people.
Okay.
So I use anywhere from 6 to 10 decks per session. And a lot of people don't do that. They just use the same deck over and over and over. But long story short again, when I became a teenager, my mom's like, no, you can't do that. That goes against the Bible. That goes against our religion. And I was like, but Mom, I like this. I want to do it. But she said, no, you can't do that. And I said, well, if I can't do that, then I'm not going to believe in God. So, I was very
Defiant.
defiant. That's the word I couldn't think of it. I was like, I'm not going to believe in God then. And also I wanted to ask the preacher some questions. And she goes, you can't talk to the preacher. You can't ask any questions. I said, well, then I'm definitely not going to believe in God if I can't ask questions. It's very, very bold as a teenager. And So she took my deck away from me.
Wow.
So yeah. So
Uh,
I
if
don't know
you're
how I got it back, but I got it back somehow. Maybe I took it from her.
if you're watching, she's got it.
I know, right?
It's like contraband.
Right, right.
It's funny.
But it took me a year to tell her that I do tarot finally.
So what age were you when you told her that you were doing it?
Okay, so let's skip years ahead. At 34, I became a Christian. I got saved.
Okay.
And I believed in Jesus, that he died on the cross for my sins, and that you are forgiven, and all those things that Christianity believes in, and that I believe in the Bible is the number one source of information and all that kind of stuff. So I do believe in that. But I use tarot as a tool, as other messages. I don't believe that you only have to use the Bible. I don't believe that. Maybe that goes against Christianity a little bit, but I also believe in other tools to use. But think about this. Man wrote the Bible. Man's not perfect. So that's where I get that little kind of thing about Christianity. A little bit of,
Get a
we
pass.
can go off the chart a little bit, off the path.
So is it acceptable, or I don't even know if that's the right word, to read oracle cards in the Christian religion as opposed
It's
to
really not
okay.
acceptable. They say in the Bible, it's not. They say the occult and witches, which I'm not a witch. I don't consider myself a witch. I just consider myself a spiritual person.
But there are good witches.
Um,
I've spoken to them. We always
yeah,
have this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
perception.
There's white witches. They call them white witches.
Right.
But I don't classify myself as a witch personally. I just say that I'm Christ conscious and I'm a Christian,
Okay.
and that I'm spiritual and I'm connected to God. I believe in God, but I believe in so many things and I'm open to interpretation with other people.
Do you think
And
in the Christian religion that it's been relaxed in terms of the tarot cards? I mean, we're talking back when you were in your teens, upper teens. Um, Fast forward to now, is it
mhm.
still you shouldn't be doing that kind of thing, or are they
Yeah, it's still a if you ask most Christians,
okay?
but my mom is totally against it still. But at age 47, I got into energy healing,
Okay, yeah.
and I was a suicidal and depressed, very had a lot of mental health problems growing up too. And when I was introduced to energy healing, that was cured.
Now,
And I thought, okay, now if God's going to let me do this kind of thing with energy healing, tarot cards, and all that, and cure my mental health, suicidal depression, hello, of course I'm going to believe in this stuff because it's connected to spirit and God and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, the devil, I mean, people might think, well, that's devil. But I don't think so. I mean, I'm connected to God right now with my heart, and I feel his connection. And I know in my heart that what I do is good.
well, as I think you would agree, when it comes to energy healing or anything energy related, it's also about the intention.
Mm-hmm.
So if your intention is good, then it's all good. If you're using it for negative use, and I don't even know how
Mm-hmm.
you could, but um,
Well, you could put spells on people, that kind of stuff, if you wanted to, but I don't do that. Everything that I do is for love, and God equals love.
well, you realize that it works. I listen, I'm a big believer in energy healing, and more
Mm-hmm.
so in the last year and a half than ever. And I've been exposed to it. My one regret was not understanding it like I should have, say 10 years ago, 10, 12
Oh
years ago.
gosh, I wish I would have been exposed earlier or believed in it earlier.
I was exposed to it, but I didn't get it. It was sort of like, skimming a stone on a pond. It was like, oh, okay. And I was working in it. I was
Mm-hmm.
literally, I don't need to go into the back end. I was
Yeah,
major websites, worldwide metaphysical site. Um, but I never got it. It was like, oh yeah, listen, I'm talking in 2009, we had on a website Oracle cards where you could press a button and it would reveal the cards. And I was
yeah.
part of the build out on all of that. And it was huge. The site was huge, but I believe it was ahead of its time. And
Hmm.
people were like, "What is this? What's going on now?" It's more widely accepted, but I didn't really get it back then. I wish I did. I wish I
I
did.
know, I
Uh,
know. But you know, it's okay because you get it now.
yeah, it's part of the journey. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Uh, instant feedback, Steve at gmail.com if you want to reach out to us. We can we pull a card for somebody?
Yeah.
So we've got Tina checking in from Foxborough, Massachusetts. She says, I'm dating a guy and wonder if it will get serious. Can you tell
Okay.
me what you might see?
Okay. Let's see. I'm using my good old handy.
Oh, we're going old school. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's see. Okay, this card came out. Oh, fulfilled. It
Really?
looked good. World card. That's definitely a good sign.
Wow. All right, Tina. Thumbs up on that one.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So how did you do that? You shuffled the cards
I
before?
shuffled and it kind of stuck out and I felt the energy
Yeah.
for it. And that one was definitely the card that came out.
I know this is going to sound crazy, but feeling the energy, they say you're supposed to do that with crystals,
Hmm.
right? And this is how my brain works. You say something and it just downloads. There's a local place. It grew up in the neighborhood I'm from. It's an inn where people get together. They have like $2 cheeseburgers. It's amazing,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
also now you can have a beer, a burger, whatever, pool
Hmm.
tables, whatever. It's just a community place, and they have this thing where you reach into this bag and you grab a chip, like a poker chip, but it's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
it,
Hmm.
and it determines what you're going to pay when they do like a happy hour
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. That's neat.
So I've reached into the bag and I will just wait for something to grab me energetically and then pull
Hmm.
the chip out. And I will tell you more times than not, and I'm sure there's not a lot of them in there, it comes out with 10 cents. And that's what I pay for my meal, for, a
Uh-huh.
round of
It's your intention and you feel it.
yeah, it's happened. It actually, I don't go there, maybe like once a year or twice a year.
Hmm.
Last time I went there, it happened twice when I went up to get something else, either to drink or to eat. And I just
Hmm.
reach in the bag. Okay. And I'm just like, it's this one right here. Oh,
Hmm.
10 cents. They don't even ask you for the 10 cents. Essentially, you got your meal for drink.
That's for free.
But I'm just
Hmm.
bringing that up because of what you're just saying right now with the card, you feel the energy from the card.
Hmm. Yep. And sometimes they'll call them jumpers. They'll just jump out. It's like,
Wow.
okay, that one's definitely a card we need to read.
Hmm. Now, you showed us before when you're going to do a reading, you have your card set up.
Hmm.
Why different decks? Like, what's the deal with that?
That's so interesting you asked that because each person, I feel like God's leading me to a deck that's going to speak to that person specifically, and they usually do.
Okay, so that's when you go up on the wall of all your cards. That's how you make that decision that this one speaks to me. That one would be good for this reading. Hmm.
And it's funny you say that because at the very beginning when I started, that's for some reason that was my style. And like one of my very first clients, I pulled a tattoo tarot. It was tattoos, and she loved tattoos and had them all over herself. And I had no idea. I
You
didn't
couldn't
even
see
know
them.
her.
They were covered up. Covered up. You couldn't see them.
But she told me, and I was like, really? And that was
Hmm.
the first deck I used on her was the tattoo tarot. And she's like, I love tattoos. How did you know? And I'm like, oh, it wasn't me.
Wow.
And then like the next person might be butterflies or mermaids or unicorns or whatever, but it tends to be something that their hobby or something that relates to them some way.
Do you mix tarot and oracle cards together in
Hmm.
one reading?
Hmm.
Okay. Hmm.
Yep.
Is it true that the like a tarot deck is a little darker, and that's why maybe the Christian religion looks at it that way?
It's not that it's darker. Oracle is a lighter kind of read. A tarot, you have to learn it. Whereas an oracle, you don't have to learn anything. Tarot has a method to it.
Hmm. Can anybody pull cards if they have the right
Hmm.
intention, mindsets, in touch with their intuition?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. You just have to be careful. I usually like burn sage and clear the room and that kind of thing before I even start a meeting. Like I have this kind of stuff that I spray. Like
Hmm.
this is called Spiritual Vibes Moon Water Manifestation Spray. I have this one. This one's called Good Vibes Only. You
Okay.
know, those kind of things. And then I have my sage that I burn. And when you burn sage, you definitely want to have a window open to let the negativity go out. If you
Gotcha.
burn it and you have closed rooms, it's not going to go anywhere.
So I struggle with this in this office that I'm in. It's in a building. The windows don't open. The door does, leads to a hallway. Is that acceptable?
That would be hard. But if you have crystals that you could bring in with you, you could use the crystals, like selenite
Oh,
would be a good one.
I don't have any selenite. It's
Perfect.
literally always right in front of me.
And you can clear it when you go home. Take it home with you and clear it with sage.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I have sage here.
But I'm saying, since it's a closed office, you need to take it home and clear it.
Oh, so you're saying clear the selenite outside of the closed office.
Right.
So you're saying that even I couldn't even open the door to let the energy out, the negative
You
energy.
could, but it's going to travel a long way, however far it is to get outside. I don't know.
Yeah. And have to go to the end of the hallway. That door would have to be open. It would have to go, you'd have to open the elevator. Uh,
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Yeah.
okay. So if I wanted in a situation like this to clear out bad energy, what would be the best way to do it?
That's what I mean. Having the crystals with you.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I believe.
Hmm. All right.
Somebody might say something totally different.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely there's energy here that needs to be cleared out from just some
Yeah. And you could definitely use a spray.
okay. So I have a Palo Santo spray around here.
Yeah. Apollo Santos puts in positivity. So you could do that.
So crazy question, and
Hmm.
I know it's all about intention. The Palo Santo spray, I don't know if it's real Palo Santo. It smells
Hmm.
like it. It says that it is. Does
Hmm.
it really matter as long as you put the intention on the spray?
I believe your intentions are a lot to do with anything
Hmm. Okay.
and everything.
I am definitely going to sage before the day's up.
And like, that's true. Like, I have this subconscious block sometimes that'll appear. And when it does, things don't happen for me.
How do you mean?
Like, I do cabbie, which is I'm a stylist. And I think I said fashion designer last week, and I didn't mean to say that. I'm a stylist, not a designer.
Gotcha.
I'm a
They're
stylist.
loosely connected, so I get it.
So I'm a cabbie stylist. And I've been having this block that people don't want to book shows with me. And I'm like, I've got to stop that negative thinking and that negative block and realize that they do want to book with me.
Yep, it's absolutely true, and I know what you're saying. I do because it's even if you, let's say somebody may, let's say you're in sales and
Hmm.
somebody,
Which I am. That's what cabbie is. It sells.
okay, so if somebody's, you got a fish on the hook and and it's and your intent is right, you have something that they would greatly benefit from, but they're not pulling the trigger and they're sitting out there instead of negatively marinating over it, sending a text, I don't know what's going on, talking to a friend or whatever. Look at it on the positive side. Yeah, they are going to book with me. It's going to happen. And if they don't, somebody else will, but it's all
Hmm.
going to happen. I
Right.
think
And also another thing is like, don't say negative things like, I can't wait. Say, I'm so excited. Could it turn it positive?
say that again. I want to make sure to,
Okay. So instead of saying, I can't wait, that's a negative way to say, I'm so excited.
right. Yeah, no,
Like, turn it around and say more positive things instead of saying, can't, don't. Say, I am
right.
excited. Those kind
Can't
of
is such a
things.
block right there. Uh,
Hmm.
but the intent was positive, but you're using negative.
Right. Words.
Yeah. Hmm. Never thought of that one because, I can't wait for, Friday.
Right. Instead, you want to say, I'm so excited about this.
Right. Hmm. You know what? I forgot about that one. I try to take words out of my vocabulary and put other ones in. Like the word "but" is
Hmm.
not a good word. Uh,
No,
to say, hey, that
we
shirt,
all do it.
we all do it. That shirt looks great on you, but you might
Just
want to.
stop there,
Yeah,
stop.
you just negated the first thing you said. That positive thing you said, you just blew that off. You lopped it
Exactly.
off. Instead of saying, uh, that shirt looks great, but
But
save money, next time you shop. That shirt looks great, and you should think about saving money next time so you have more
right,
money.
yeah. Put and instead of but. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And comes from being a kid. If you listen to a kid, they're always
Mhm.
excited. They're always curious. What do they say? And I went to the store today and they had candy there and it was so much
And
fun. And
they're so excited.
right. You never hear a kid say but this, but that. No, never.
I know as we grow up, we're so like we just lose our passion, it seems like. I
Well,
think it's because of stress.
it's because of stress, but we're also programmed to be negative from the get-go.
Hmm.
It is where there's negativity existing, and it's not intentional, but
Mm-mm.
I said, but look what happens. Look,
And
and look what happens when you're a kid. That you could be that 2-year-old and you walk up to the table and there's a salt shaker and you're going to grab it for the first time, and this is so great. And hey, oh, whoa, whoa, but put that down. Nope, nope,
but that turned down.
right. And
Saying
you're
but.
exposed to that negative right from the beginning. Same
Hmm.
thing when you're laughing out loud. Yeah, I just had a memory that I laughed in second grade. I laughed in class. I giggled. And I'll never forget that teacher picked me up and put me in front of the class, swatted me on the bottom, and
We're giggling.
for giggling. And I told my mother about it, and it turned into this whole big thing where the superintendent of the school district was involved, and that teacher had some repercussions, and I was moved out of the class, but just for giggling. So,
Yeah.
I could hold that with me forever. I haven't, but it was very impactful. And I see it in my mind. I'll never forget her grabbing my arm and put me as an example in front of the rest of the class. But uh, Mrs. Baruch wasn't cool.
Maybe she's watching today.
Never forgot that name, Baruch. But yeah. Uh, but
There's some
wait
things
a
that
minute.
happened to me in high school that I'm like, I had to let that stuff go.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we all do. We all do. Right down to bullying. So many.
Right.
I nowadays with social media, I'd have to imagine that probably 80% of kids, teens deal with some type of bullying.
My daughter.
There you go. My son. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's
I
it's
would not want to grow up in this world right now with social media.
yeah,
It would be so hard because back then it was hard enough.
yeah. And you can't escape it. What are you going to do?
Mm-mm.
Take your kid's phone away from them?
Hmm.
They and all
Then
those
they
things
get bullied for not having a phone.
they made fun of, right? But think about that. All those things that they're dealing with now, energy healing will probably help them down the road.
Yeah,
You know,
my daughter gets energy healing and it
and
helps her a lot.
yeah. What's your favorite modality in energy healing? Is it chakra clearing? Is it Reiki? Is it all of it?
I do a process that's called letting go.
Okay.
Yeah. You actually feel the number and you work your way down from 10 all the way down to 0 to make it neutral. And you replace the feeling with letting go and you replace it with the love and light of and the healing power of Jesus Christ.
Hmm. And in the energy healing, are they doing Reiki or chakra balancing, like the letting go? Is there anything else connected to it?
No, it's more of a feeling of love and God and replacing that feeling with like a warmth feeling, the energy. So I guess it's kind of like a Reiki, but it's remote
Okay.
healing.
I love the concept. I'm trying to get my arms around it, how that works. So you're,
It's an intention thing.
and how do you go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6? Is it in
It's
six?
a feeling like if you're angry, you're like really angry, and you're like on a 10 on the scale of 1 to 10, you're like really pissed off.
Yep.
And then you want to replace that feeling of anger as a 10 with the love and power and the healing power of Jesus. You want to feel that anger with that instead. And then it starts calming you down and you're letting go of that anger and you're feeling it with love instead. And it's hard at first to do something like that, but I've done it so long now that I almost don't have to feel a number. I can just like,
Do you do it yourself or do you go to a practitioner for that?
both.
Okay. Wow. And it's called letting go?
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
The stuff you
She
learn.
came up with it herself, and I practice it on myself. And I also, when I see my daughter getting upset, I'll do it for her.
I've often heard that you can assign a color to it, and that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the number thing is, at least you have a way to gauge it with the numbers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Kind of like a pain scale.
Yeah, right. When you're in a hospital situation. Yeah. Wow.
And you can do the same thing with pain too. Pain, anger, shame, whatever you're feeling at the time, whatever emotion.
So you give it a number. Let's say something happens and you throw it that's a 7. That's a 7.
Mm-hmm.
At that moment, what do you do to take the number down?
You just, again, feel that feeling, whatever you're feeling, that emotion, or if you're sad or not happy, sad, guilty, whatever you're feeling.
Wow.
And you just replace it and you feel it come down and you want to neutralize that feeling to where you don't feel it anymore. You can put memories to it, whatever. You can just bring it down.
So think of something positive in its place.
Yeah, totally. Whatever works for you. And you breathe it in. You want to breathe it in and then let it go.
There was a research that came out recently, kind of ties into that in the positive memory. The best way to fall asleep, if you have trouble falling asleep, is to think of something positive. Could be a memory, but you have to really put yourself there. You have to have that frame of mind. And more times than not, that'll help you fall asleep. And they call it savoring. I love that name.
That's funny because I did that last night.
Yeah?
Yeah, I did that exact thing last night.
Yeah. When you get in that mindset and you're there, it's like, oh, I hit that spot. All right. And then you just drift off.
Because I was like, last night I laid there going to sleep and I said, let me think of a memory that's positive. I'm going to reminisce.
And it worked.
And I fell asleep.
Called savoring. Maybe it's been around. It was just a research. I'm always like looking at everything, and that came out literally just last week. So, all right, interesting. Learning a lot today. What's your website?
It's Starry, STARRY, Sky, SKY, connections.com. It has an S. So starryskyconnections.com.
And you're available if anybody wants to do any kind of readings. You can do them virtually, right?
Yeah, totally. Zoom, like we're doing now. I can also do FaceTime if you prefer that. Also, my Instagram is Starry Sky Connections, the same as my website.
Got it. Wow, super cool stuff. I'm glad we went down the Tarot Road.
Yeah, Tarot Road.
Yeah, always great talking with you, Divine Angel Oracle, and looking forward next time we get a chance to get together.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.